this presentation that I'm titling the Power of Trust and What It Means to Be a Trusted Professional has really a couple of pieces to it. One, it harkens to the theme of the entire MLA conference and why we're here today, and that's to celebrate our success. So there's some elements of that in this presentation. And there will be call to action. Just like David spoke about, there are things that we can do when it comes to getting out there in our communities and embedding ourselves in our communities. So let's get started. When you talk about trust, the first thing that comes to mind is hand cream. I think that's pretty, that's what we talk about. In all seriousness, here we have two brands, Gibby and Usern. They're owned by the same German investment holding company. I don't know how many people knew that. Why would you? But it's true. And these two brands need to make money. So the German investment company knows that. They can't cannibalize one or the other. They're more or less the same ingredients. One doesn't have gold flakes in it. More or less sold in the same locations, but one of the brands is roughly 300% more expensive than the other. So why is that? And the answer is trust. Now that might perplex people, but we'll get to why that is through the course of these 15 minutes. And to do that, I need to tell you a story. It's actually about a story about a guy named Jamie. Now, Jamie LaRue came to Maine back in May, and he spoke to a number of us. For those that don't know Jamie, he oversaw the Douglas County system in Colorado. He's now working for ALA as in their Office of Information and Intellectual Freedom. He was also very instrumental in working with, also in Colorado, the Research Institute for Public Libraries. And that organization really talks about how you take data to tell your story. And that's why we brought Jamie in to talk to a number of us back in May. And Jamie presented this model, and it's okay that you can't read the model. We're not here to talk about the model in depth today. But he began telling us a story about how he needed to develop support in the Douglas County system to build capacity. And there was a referendum question that he lost overwhelmingly, that they lost overwhelmingly. When he began to look into the reasons why, this model began to come into play. So let me just kind of walk through. What he argues is that when you open the doors and you're open for business and you do nothing else but that, you will get 30 to 50% of the people in your communities to support you. And 30 to 50% is fine, but it's not 51% when you're going out to referendum and when you're putting your budget on the line in front of select people. So to engage and to get more support, there are the various tiers of the triangle. And each of these, and he made a point of sharing this with us, each of these tiers to cultivate takes 2 years, minimum, 2 years. The first one's one-way communication, one-way marketing, it's public relations, and he talked extensively about this. It's our message to our communities. It's one way. It's the message that we send, and he made a point that it needs to be very clean. 2 fonts, 1 logo, used consistently over and over and again. We're telling our story. That middle tier, somewhat close to the top, is marketing. 2-way communication, listening to people, getting out in our communities, hearing what they have to say, and not necessarily asking the question, hey, why aren't you visiting your library? Or what can we do at the library to make things better? But listening to the feedback that comes in. He gave an example of someone that said, yeah, I don't use the library because I don't like the way it smells. The question isn't, what should a library smell like? The question he said back to the person is, "What smells do you like?" And the response from this one particular individual was coffee. Okay, we know where that went. Close to the top, right below the bottom, is answering the community reference question. Now, David spoke about this. I'll talk about it a little bit today, but this is over and over again, get out, get out, get out. Embed yourselves, because we are a valuable resource to be used by our communities and to engage in helping to answer the questions and the problems and the issues that communities have. Not necessarily the problems the library has, but the questions the community has. Behind all of this, and this is where I'm going with this and why I'm showing you this model, Jamie talked to us about trust, and that this wouldn't be possible if librarians weren't inherently trusted. And he said something. When he said it, I sat up immediately. And this is what he said. He said, yeah, I was at a conference, or I was listening to a speaker one time, and they said, firefighters, nurses, and librarians are the 3 most trusted people in America. And I thought, wow, that is something. That's good company, number one. And number two, that's a really interesting statement. And he argued that, this is why we're capable of doing these things and embedding ourselves in our community. I texted Adam. Adam's right up here. I asked Adam to put together the new because statement. I had these visions. I'm sitting there and I lost track of what Jane was saying. I thought, this will be great. We can get this out. How cool will this be? It's just kind of there for people where we've adopted this campaign. I love it. So that was a Friday. We go away for the weekend, come back the next day, and things were busy. Finally, around midweek, I get to this, and I'm ready to get this out. And just, especially the people that attended, listening to him speak, but to the broader Maine community. And before I did, it was probably the smartest decision I ever have done. I handed off the ad to our reference staff. Just said, can you please find me the source? Well, a couple of days later, they came back. I'm not sure that they wanted to enter the office, although I'm very approachable. With a stack about this big, I kid you not. And they said, there's no source, nothing to cite. It's not been said. It's not true. Now, it might be true. We can't prove for you that it's true. And we went and we talked to the people that had given some of the presentations that maybe this remark would have been made at, and they too said, yeah, no. There are inferences, make no mistake, there are tons of inferences about trust. The information that we give our communities, the information libraries have, the sources for information, those things are trusted. So by nature, by default, sure, librarians are trusted. But we didn't have it. And it really bugged me, because in the line of business that we're in, you just don't go out and say something that's you can't back up. So back and forth, this is eating at me. Why is this eating at me? I really want to be able to do this. Trust is a very important part of what we offer to our communities. It's a very important part of what we do. And I thought, there's got to be something here that I'm just not getting. So one day, driving into work, it kind of hit. Now, all of you, I'm slow, so all of you are probably already there in your minds, and you should have done this. What came to me was some of the old business experiences, and I don't want this to sound cynical, but it hit me at that moment. Trust is big business. We are marketed to every day about trust, honesty, put your money with us, let us invest for you, ethical, you can trust us. So I teased on that, I pulled on that thread, because therein was the reason, I believe, why this was bugging me so much, is that companies pay billions of dollars to market trust. And if we are trusted for free, that's pretty powerful. So, being the librarian that I am now, thank you, we went to Marvel. We found some academic research, and lo and behold, there's a 2010 interview by a peer-reviewed marketing intelligence review with one of the VPs and marketers for, and I won't even try to pronounce it, the German investment holding company for these two brands. So let me just quickly paraphrase some of the back and forth in the interview. The magazine. Presumably, the difference for the Eucerin brand is because Eucerin is probably a premium brand. The executive, no, not exactly. Eucerin's distributed in a very different channel. Nivea plays a very important role in mass market, but Eucerin is distributed in pharmacies, and precisely there, advisory skills are very important. You mean that consumers are willing to pay a confidence fee when it comes to higher prices? They're willing to pay for trust? He says exactly. If you rank professional categories according to the confidence they enjoy, then doctors or pharmacists rank very highly. Let's go to the next piece of research. The annual most trusted professional Gallup survey. Been doing it for decades. Pharmacist number 2, medical doctors number 3. Car salespeople, telemarketers at the bottom rank. And the executive went on. He said, we tie this brand to these trusted professionals in contrast to car dealers or politicians. That's what Eucerin's done because they understand the value of trust. So we've proven it, and I mean, it should come to us naturally, but it's out there. Trust is a valuable, valuable commodity. It's an inherent value proposition. And Eucerin ties itself to trusted professionals. So what do we do about it? The Gallup polls never included librarians. Never. They've done it for 20 or so years. It's always the same professions, the same exact professions. It's always the same exact question. How can we get this validated? So, we commissioned our own survey in Maine. We went to the Portland Research Group. We told them what our hypothesis was, told them why it'd be important. We said we want to do the exact survey. We want to do the Gallup survey in Maine. We want you to do it. And they did. And the results were quite remarkable. Thank you. There we are. Now we're second to nurses. Let me explain something about nurses. Every single year the Gallup poll has been done, nurses have ranked number 1. Every single year except one, which was, anyone?
2001.
2001. Firefighters were ranked. So Maine has spoken. We are a very highly trusted profession. Congratulate you. I mean, that's fantastic. And as David said earlier, we didn't. Our talks were not coordinated in any way. As David said earlier, as a librarian, we are the core value. We are the core value, in part because of this. Now, just to show that we are not out there as a fringe element, we track very, very closely, except for librarians, obviously, because Gallup does not track that. We track very closely to the national survey. So going back to these results, we've affirmed perhaps what we've already known. We now have the data to tell this story, and it's important that we do that. And David did a great job earlier weaving in and out of some of what's happening in the nation post-election. And I can tell you journalists are at the bottom of the Gallup survey time and time again, and that's a real problem. They are positioned in the First Amendment, freedom of the press. It's okay if you want to offer op-ed journalism, as long as we know that's what we're getting. But we need our professionals, especially journalists, to do their jobs, because we're doing ours. And that's why, David, I think it ties nicely. Now is the time. It's always been the time. But recognizing it should give us the confidence that we deserve or that we need to make sure that we are getting out there. Trust translates. Again, David and I did not coordinate messages. We didn't. I was going to say some of the same things. Get out. Embed yourselves. Your communities need you. Preserve. Always preserve library as democratic institution. It's very, very important for society. And people trust us to do that. Ask for more money. We are trusted with our community's resources. I will come to any of your libraries, speak to any group that you want about this and about democracy. They're the two things that I can talk easily about because I like them most. But they're very, very important to what we do. How are we going to support you? We're going to get this message out. So the full survey will be made available to you online through our digital repository. We're going to get it to the press. Bryce Kundick has written a great op-ed. It's already appeared in a Biddeford paper and hopefully more. He talks about the power of us being trusted professionals in our communities. Don't let this go. Celebrate it. Drive home today, and when you're thinking to yourself, you can think, yeah, I kind of knew that, but it's been validated. And now take this story to the streets. It's what we need to do. It's that powerful, and it's okay to talk about it. So at the end of the day, we've proven that we are a very highly trusted professional and community resource. Thank you for the time.